Good day. Welcome to the Midsummer edition of Spotlight on Mahopac Schools. Eric Gross, your host, along with Superintendent of Schools, Anthony DiCarlo. And Anthony, hard to believe a month is gone already.
Eric, it has been an unbelievable month as we've been waiting for guidance from the governor, as well as the New York State Education Department, the DOH, Department of Health, and then of course CDC. So this whole month we've been waiting for all this information to come out. And as you know, tomorrow, that's July 31st, we have to submit our 3 plans for reopening to the state. One is the all-in plan, where everybody would be in. Second is a hybrid, which is partially in-person and partially remote. And the third would be full remote. Now, as we sit here in front of you today, the guidance, as well as the square footage for our district, is really going to dictate what we can and can't do moving forward. So those plans are going to go out tomorrow, but we really have to wait to see what the governor decides on or about August 7th as to which plan we're going to go to. So as I just mentioned, based on the social distancing of 6 feet, our square footage of our buildings, if we can do in person, we'll be with some kind of a hybrid model. If the governor turns around and something happens and he decides because of influx and numbers, although I sent out a correspondence and it talks about what the triggers are, right? If it's 5% or below, we can have in person. If it's 9% or above, then we go to remote. So we're really looking at those two, whether it's going to be a hybrid or remote, and that'll be determined by the governor. So we've been doing a lot of work, Eric, from an instructional and teaching and learning point of view, what that will look like in both models. We've also, of course, had to spend a lot of time looking on health and safety and what that may look like. So tomorrow's state assurances state that the Mahopac Central School District is going to follow the protocols outlined by the governor and the state education department. Our plan, though, however, will be evolving during the course of the year, Eric, because the pandemic is going to change. We'd love to go from hybrid to all in person, right? That would be the best, okay? But we understand as we go through our 10 months, we may go back and forth, between hybrid and remote. But we want to make sure if we do that, it's a very easy switch and that there is that continuity of instruction. And in tomorrow, you'll see what those plans look like from a teaching and learning point of view and from a health and safety point of view. But key to this, and I put this in my letters over the summer, is you have to start to parents, really speak to your students K-12 about the importance of wearing masks. You're going to have to wear masks on the bus. You're going to have to wear masks in school. Same thing with teachers in school. Eric, of course, we're going to have mask breaks where there'll be times you can take it off. We don't expect you to have it on during the course of the day, and that'll be up to the given schools and the teachers. But what's really important about this is we have to obey social distancing and these requirements. Because if we don't, and kids come in and do whatever they want to do, we're going to be back on full remote. Half a loaf is better than no loaf.
Right.
So at least if we can get the kids in on a rotating basis to be able to come in and start to socialize with one another, get in-person instruction, that's going to be very, very important. The second piece to this, which is really important for the public to understand, we learned a lot after the spring. I think Mahopac did a very good job in our rollout. We were ready for it. But we heard through town hall meetings and from parents, there needs to be more of that teacher-to-student interaction on a daily basis. And the new program, remote, allows us to be able to do that. With that being said, though, Eric, we have to do a lot of professional learning, not only with teaching and learning, but we got to teach our staff and our kids about the new normal for health and safety. So with that being done, we're not going to start the school year as we normally thought we were. We're going to upload a couple of professional development days for our staff and then probably wean our students in the first 3 days, half days, so they can get familiar with the busing. We're going to do a whole video, Eric, with you on busing. We're going to do a couple on health and safety to really show parents what the do's and don'ts are going to be. So that's a lot of work that's gone on in early and end of July, getting ready to submit this plan to the state and then moving forward from there. Eric, clearly understanding this is not unique to Mahopac. This is across the world. This is going to be a school year like we've never, ever seen before. Some of the best practices in what we do with kids and teaching and learning and working in groups and sharing manipulatives and working together, we can't do. Our classrooms have to have enough space for hybrid, half the kids a day. So I know there's going to be a lot of furniture that we're usually accustomed to. It's not going to be in the room. It's going to be the teacher with the students, teaching in front of them and remotely to really try to blend both in as much as we can.
Two questions. First, how are the teachers doing? You speak to them? You've had discussions with them?
Yeah, so
That's number one.
Yeah, so of course the teachers are, for the most part, asking a lot of questions about what's going to look like in September. And here's a lot of the frustration, Eric. When the state comes up with guidance, whether it be the governor's office or whether it be the state education department, a lot of the guidance is unclear. I mean, you can speak to our own attorneys and attorneys across the state. You may interpret it one way,
Right.
I interpret it another way, and then we go back and ask for clarification. Sometimes we get the clarification, sometimes we don't. For example, one of the things that's out there right now is, well, if you do offer a hybrid model, can you force kids, no matter what, to come into school? And if they don't want to come in and they want to remote learn, should they be having to have home instruction? We're not looking to do that. We really understand that there are some kids who have autoimmune diseases,
Yeah.
or there could be somebody significantly at home that has some kind of a underlying cause that could be problematic. So here's our timeline. We're going to roll out the program tomorrow. That's July 31st, everybody. That's Friday. And then next Monday during the day, we're going to have a town hall meeting to kind of go over the plan and answer questions. We're going to have another one on Wednesday night, another town hall meeting to go over what the plans look like and questions. And then next week, Thursday and Friday, sending home a survey. Will your son or daughter be remote learning for the course of during the school year? Now, what's important about this is as follows. It's going to be by quarter. So you can, if you want to say, I want to start the year out, I want my son or daughter to be remote learning every day, that's fine. But you have to make that obligation for the 10 weeks. You can't keep 1 week on, 1 week off. So either you're going to be remote, you're remote for 10 weeks. If you want to change the second quarter, you can do that. So a survey will be going out. And why are these surveys important? Twofold. Number one, we want to know how many students are not going to be coming in because that'll impact our class size.
Sure.
It affects busing and what that looks like. And we want to make sure that we have the schedule so we know how many and what percentage of our students are going to be starting the school year off on remote learning. So there's a lot that's going to go into it. And then next Friday, the 7th, we'll know from the governor of what we're doing, whether it's going to be any in person or remote. And then, parents will get a better understanding. They'll get a letter from me. Okay, the governor has made this statement. Here's what it looks like. And then the high schools, middle school, and elementary will then send out schedules so then parents can start to look to see what days their students are on or not. We're calling them blue and gold days. And what we're going to try to do, Eric, to the best of our ability, is to group kids accordingly. So if you're my older brother
Right.
and you're in middle school or in high school, we're going to try, again, to the best of our ability, because sometimes you can't because of high school scheduling, is that we're both on school together and off school together.
So mom and dad can work.
Yeah, so if mom and dad have to work, at least an older daughter or son is home to be with the younger sibling. So we're going to try to do that to the best of our ability.
We're going to be talking about transportation in an upcoming program, but how do you social distance on a bus?
So it'll be 2 to a seat, and don't forget it's half the kids.
Yeah.
It's not the full amount of kids. And it depends on the run, and it depends on how many students are within that run. But you have to have a mask on, and there'll be 2 to a seat. You have to load the bus back to front,
Right.
and then when you get off the bus, it's front to back. You have to be socially distanced when you're getting on the bus and getting off the bus. But it's really important, Eric, and I go back to what I said to you about masks, a number of things. Hand washing. Explain the importance of your son or daughter hand washing their hands for 20 seconds throughout the course of the day. When you sneeze or cough into your elbow. Temperature. Every single morning, and we're going to be working with a company to develop an app, you have to checklist every single morning your daughter or son or daughter's or son's temperature, what their temperature is, that they're temperature free, and that they don't have any of the quote unquote conditions that COVID may have. You check in the app, ready to go, and send it in that way.
Will the school double check?
Yes, because it'll be an app, so we'll be able to run the protocol. Same thing with teachers. Every morning, the teachers have to get up, take their temperature, check to make sure they have no signs, and they're going to be doing the same thing. What you're trying to do, Eric, to the best of your ability, is to mitigate the spread of it, which is really important. But it's an education piece, right? Again, if you want to keep the schools open, then we all collectively, as a school community, have to follow these protocols to do the right thing. We're going to have a second room that's dedicated to, God forbid, somebody may have symptoms up. They'll be in a quarantine room. Nobody is allowed in school. No outsiders are allowed to come into the building. If you need to make a meeting, it can be virtually. The only time you will come in is to be able to pick your child up if they're sick. You'll be in a waiting area right outside the building, and we'll bring your child to you. Absolutely no visitors. We can't. It's got to be closed to the best of our ability, and we're doing the cohort modeling. So any meetings or things that you need to set up can be done virtually and set up, but nobody is to appear and walk into the building without any prior notification. And all that stuff will be discussed and gone through during the course, of the year.
That's going to be so hard on the young children.
Yeah, but like everything else, Eric, if you start to explain the why to the kids and the importance, we want you to stay in school, we want you to socialize with your friends, you got to follow X, Y, Z. Right. Okay? Because if we don't, then it's going to become very, very, very problematic. And what we're looking to do, and the guidance says it, is grades K to 8, for the most part, keep kids in the same classrooms. Mm-hmm. So these changing periods every day in the middle school and going from one end of the building, that's not going to happen. You're going to stay with your group, and then people will rotate into teaching you.
What about lunch, library?
Yeah, so lunches, that's a great point. So we're working with Aramart right now for the specific protocol and what that's going to look like for purchasing lunches and what the lunches will look like. For the majority of the time, especially, again, elementary and middle, lunches will be in the classroom.
In the classroom.
Yeah. High school, we're working on that right now. Lunches may be in 2 specific areas, and they'll be at desks. The days of sitting at a table and interacting, you'll be at a student desk, and that's where your lunch will wind up being. Yeah. So these are all the things, and what we're doing, Eric, and I think it's important for the community to understand, is we've begun, this week we went to 3 buildings, next week we'll do another 3. We're going to each building and spending about a good 3 hours walking the building, the principals, the assistant principals, the cabinet, facilities, and going through all the aspects of everything in regards to distancing, what classrooms look like, what the cafeteria looks like, what bathrooms are going to look like. And then there'll be protocols, Eric, for how often bathrooms will be cleaned, and you'll see that in our plans. All that stuff has to be spelled out. But after school, once school's over, school's over. No visitors after school, nothing. Right now, if there are clubs and other activities, will be virtually.
Yeah.
We're waiting on sports. That's going to be a whole nother video down the line. Right now, sports cannot start until September 21st, if they start at all. We're waiting for that guidance. So, one thing that I'm confident in, Eric, is that I think as a school district, and as a credit to you and Stas behind there, I think we've been so communicative to our public on the way that we have spelled out information. I don't think any district does a Tuesday and Friday update on how we're doing and what we're doing and the why we're doing it. So now we're to that point. We're into the new school year and what it's going to look like. And, we're all going to try our best. We know nothing is going to be perfect. We're going to learn along the way and, be able to do what we can do and do the best job we possibly can do under the constraints of dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic.
Wow, as they say.
Yeah.
Let's take a breather. Stas was out and about the other day. One thing this past month of July, it's been hot and it's been sunny, which is great news for construction.
Yeah, I have to tell you, one of the positives that's happened is what you just mentioned, is that our roofing projects and our lighting project at the stadium field are going along very, very smoothly. We've had some great weather. It looks like they will be complete by the time school starts, which is great. So there doesn't have to be any interference beginning of the school year. And we're excited about it. Very, very much so.
Fulmer Road, the Mahopac Middle School, Mahopac Falls School, and of course the lights on the high school. we stopped by and took a look at that middle school. The planetarium sticks up out of this.
Yeah.
What's happening with that?
Well, it was refurbished. It was pointed differently, so
Right.
it's something that needed to be done because of the, the moisture and the leaking that comes in now. If you remember, that planetarium as a part of our new our first phase for next
That's
year
right.
is going to be a mini theater for a variety of different events that can take place both in school and hopefully people coming in the outside and using it. So
Right.
yeah, it's exciting. It's very exciting.
And those roofs were leaking like a sieve, and now
Yeah,
they're going to
well,
be nice
listen,
and tight.
you can't have school if you don't have
Right.
safe roofs, and they needed to be done. It was part of the project and a part of the bond, and we're happy the way that it's moved forward during the course of the summer.
Wow, see, there's a silver lining after all.
Yeah, very, very much so.
So once again, on Friday, look at your emails. Anthony will be sending out his bi-weekly letter, and everything will be outlined right there
Yeah, and like I
plan.
said, yeah,
for the first phase of the reopening of school.
yeah, and then like I said, town halls coming up next
Yep.
week on Monday and Wednesday, so that we can further clarify and codify what that looks like.
Must the residents sign up for the town hall?
Yeah, there's going to be a link tomorrow that'll show
Okay.
you, it's a webinar to be able to do
Okay.
that. So that'll be really important. And and then at the end of the day, health and safety is paramount, and in these plans, in the school, in the classrooms, with sanitizing stations, we have to, in the bathrooms, we have to cordon off certain, sinks and
yeah.
urinals because they're not,
Yeah.
compliant. All that stuff has to be done. Talking about hallways are going to have certain, markers on them that this is one way and this goes that way, and those are all the things that are very encompassing that go into all this. But what we're going to do, Eric, over the next couple of weeks is do those videos and go to the buildings and show you what a hallway's going to look like, show you what a classroom's going to look like, what's going to look like on the buses,
Sure.
that the buses are going to be cleaned after every run, that, there'll be custodians in bathrooms after every period wiping things down. All these things, I know there are going to be questions that the public are going to want to know and ask, because they're going to say, listen, Mr. DiCarlo, I'm not going to send my child in unless I know what those safety
Right.
protocols are along the way. It's really important. The other piece to it, too, is, when you're traveling,
Yeah.
got to be careful where you're going and to look at the list that's on the New York State 14-day list, because, as we get to Labor Day, people are going to want to travel.
Right.
And if you travel, no, I'm being honest, if you travel
Yeah.
to a state that's on that list still at that time, you have to quarantine for 14 days.
Yeah.
So you need to start to think about these things now, because before you know it, it's going to be here, and then that can become extremely problematic. In regards to the other big question, Eric, is what happens if somebody gets COVID?
Mm-hmm.
How long will the school be closed? That's going to all be determined on contact tracing, as well as the information we will get from the Putnam County Department of Health. Those will all be things that are going to be done and be more specified.
We talked about the quote-unquote professional staff, the teaching staff, the administrative staff. But you want to give a special shout-out to the custodians and the bus drivers
Yeah.
and the maintenance people.
Right, because they're
who
getting
also.
right. What we were able to do, Eric, because of the fact that we did not have summer programs
Yeah.
going on this summer, all those groups you did mention have done a great job. We've been able to do some work we normally could never get to. And they've come in, they've been professional, they do their jobs, whether it's custodians, whether it's bus drivers, whether it's clerical, they understand we have to get ready for a school year.
Yeah.
From a health and safety point of view, from a readiness point of view, and the things that need to happen and go out to get ready for school. Schools don't just shut down.
Right.
Kids are in for 10 months, but the rest of the staff is in for 12 months, a full year. And the work that goes into that is really important. I mean, the reality of the matter is, we're looking at a lot of stuff when it comes to meetings and the like are still going to be virtual. We're most likely going to have virtual open houses this year for back to school nights. Those are some of the things, and that's why I said to you, we're going to need some additional time in September for really professional development and learning for our staff, health and safety development for not only our staff but our students, and that's why we're going to do a little bit of that transition that first week to get everybody acclimated to getting them ready to go and do what needs to be done.
So don't forget, when that email comes in tomorrow, on Friday the 31st, read it over thoroughly.
Yeah, it's
Digest it. Very important.
It's 64 pages.
Okay.
So there's a lot to look at, and I don't expect everybody to sit down tomorrow night, but over the gradual couple of days, you may
Yeah.
want to take a look at it. Again, though, Eric, and I need to stress this. This is something that's going to be fluid. Just because it says something in there tomorrow doesn't mean that's going to happen the whole course of the year. The pandemic and certain things are going to drive what we can do. We're going to be possibly making some subtle changes on certain things, but as those things happen, they'll be updated through the course of the school year. That's very, very important.
Okay. As they say, stay tuned.
And Eric, thank you. Great seeing you. That
Good
nice
seeing
tan.
you. Have a
Same
good,
thing with
couple of
Stas
weeks.
behind the camera, and it's going to be we're going to be doing a lot of these because we want to
Interesting
update.
year.
Yeah,
Interesting year.
yeah, it'll be very, very interesting. But the community that we live in, and I always talk about the Mayapack way and
Yep.
Mayapack strong. I'm sure we'll come together. Ultimately, we want to try to make it as close to normal, whatever that may be, for the kids and our staffs, and try to make it as a successful 2021 school year. Eric, we had the same question when it came to graduation at the high school, right? There was a lot of questions and concerns,
Yeah.
and I think we were able to listen, right, and be able to do it in a manner that I think most people were happy with and thought, we did a great job, and we're going to look to do the same thing during the course of the school year. Understanding that things can change literally from day to day.
And the residents of Mayapack are going to come through in a pinch.
They always do.
They always do.
But this is the time more than ever, Eric, and let's be very honest. We live in very trying times.
Mm-hmm.
And to be pointing fingers and yelling and screaming about things a lot that I don't have control over,
Right.
or the Board of Education has control over, or my staff has, we really have to be able to sit down, come together, and make decisions that are best for kids. That's really what every school year should be like, but most importantly, this school year
Yeah.
more than ever. And to really be patient, to be able to communicate with one another. Listen, not everybody's going to get their way. That's just the reality during these times. But at least let's work together and be able to do what we all perceive as the best for kids. Because the yelling, the screaming, the not wanting to work together, the walking away doesn't do anybody any good. And you know what? And I say this all the time, and I'm being very honest. I have a PTO council that are the leaders of all the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I meet every month with them. At that meeting are board members who are liaisons to that group. You have an issue or a problem, bring it up to the PTO. I don't run this district on social media. I told this Board of Education when I came in, I'm not running it on social media, and I will not run it on social media. I am going to make, and my cabinet and my leaders and my staff are going to make decisions on what's best for kids at the end of the day. And oh, by the way, on a positive note, what an absolutely beautiful write-up 3 weeks ago in the New York Times on Mayapack.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
A lot of times we're our worst critics,
Yes.
but it's nice to see an outside group, and it's the New York Times,
Yes.
talk about what a great community, what it's all about, from its beauty, from its schools to
Yeah.
its quaintness. That's what we want. And Eric, and you know and I know,
Yeah.
people are flocking out of New York City.
Big time.
And the most important thing is our property values are going up because we have good and great schools. And we want to continue to do that work because ultimately that's what it's all about, right? And there are two great, banners that are hanging now at the school. As we mentioned, we got it recognized as a top New York State school for recognition and academic achievement. Same thing with U.S. News and World Report. That's what people want to see, that we continue to upgrade our programs and that our kids are going to great schools and that we have a great community, and that's what it's all about.
Challenging year ahead, but it's going to be a successful year in Mayapack.
Yes, it will. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Stas.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition, the Midsummer edition of Spotlight on Mayapack Schools. Anthony and I will be back in a week or two, give you an update, fill you in a little more as to what's going on, and take you through the schools and I can show you exactly what it's going to look like.
For more information, please visit our website, www.mayapack.k12.ny.us.